All proceeds from this series will go to Samaritans. Donation link in the description. Hey there, my name's Ruin, and welcome for the first time to the Fazlore Podcast. Today I'm here with ShesAlwaysNervous.
Hello.
And today we'll be covering FNAF 1. What was FNAF 1? If someone came up to you, had no idea what FNAF was, like FNAF 1 as a game, what would you say to them?
I would say it's a resource management game and a horror game, because that's really the two things that you're fighting between at that point. So I would just say, like, you're in like an old Chuck E. Cheese style establishment, and you're trying to manage your power while fending off these quirky animatronics that seem to have murderous intent.
That's pretty. Yeah, I feel like.
If they don't know anything, I can't just be like, oh, it's about Bonnie and Foxy.
This animatronic, and then it's this law, and it's this, and then this. Start bringing like a corkboard.
Yes, they have no idea. I really want to ease them into what it is.
Oh yeah, I mean, at least FNAF 1 is probably the easiest to describe game-wise, but all the other games, it's just... And then you have Michael Afton, and his dad's a killer, and then you have his friend is Henry, and then he has a daughter, and she's dead, and just... complex lore.
Yeah, she got killed by his animatronics.
Yeah, and then they became animatronics. Yeah,
right.
I did find it really interesting though. So, FNAF 1 actually brought back a lot of interest for animatronics in general. Like, obviously, mascot horror. FNAF is what brought brought mascot horror. That's the one around, and it brought around a lot of interest in old animatronics, and a lot of stuff got restored. It was quite like interesting, the environmental like effects FNAF had.
Yeah, it was like a little showbiz pizza renaissance kind of thing. And it's interesting now because like the world, despite FNAF's success, is moving away from animatronics entirely. Like Chuck E. Cheese does not even have them anymore.
Yeah, I think they've changed it now to having one animatronic at exclusive locations, which is really interesting because I definitely feel like Chuck E. Cheese would have had a bit of a resurge around FNAF time, because FNAF, again, was the start of like a complete whole new era. So it definitely made a lot of changes, but Chuck E. Cheese was already dying off, and, you know, it's not the best PR if it's suddenly like horror. So
I don't know how they would have capitalized off of Five Nights at Freddy's without looking crazy, frankly.
It just killed five kids.
Honestly, just... Yeah, right. We'll create a mystery around Chuck E. Cheese that someone died. That'll bring all of the parents in.
Paint someone purple.
There was a purple guy.
Oh my gosh. Oh, there wasn't a purple guy at that point. Oh gosh, that was when the law was simple. There was a killer. He killed kids. He got arrested. Ta-da.
Yeah, we really don't even know all the way back in FNAF 1 what suit he was wearing, because it says an animatronic or it says like it's wearing a character suit, but it doesn't specify that it's a rabbit. I think it's very vague, and even before there was lore, potentially like they're trying to say it was the Golden Freddy suit, because back then like that was the other suit, really. That wasn't the four that were trying to like actively come after you.
Yeah. What was the law at the time? Kind of leading on from that point, do you think at the time it was intended to be Golden Freddy? Because obviously there was two kind of suspicions for Golden Freddy. Is that he was either where the phone guy had been stuffed, or he was the person in the suit? Like, which do you think it was?
I guess I don't know what the popular opinion was at the time. I know that there was like very early on, right? The idea was like, oh, is the phone guy the killer? And so it would kind of make sense if all of that wrapped around that, like, the phone guy was the killer and he got stuffed in the suit. Because this is before, right, we hear the, like, this is in FNAF 2 is really where you learn that the phone guy gets potentially locked in a back room, right? In the first game.
I think he dies in the first game in the tape because he's like, yeah, I'm stuck back here. If you can get someone to help me.
Right. Oh my gosh, there's so many tapes. Yeah. But I also think that would make sense if he was the killer. Like, if the animatronics did, like, hone in on him. Because I do know that was an early theory. I don't know. I didn't get involved with Five Nights at Freddy's until the second game already existed. And I was watching game theory stuff on that. So I don't know if I ever personally had an opinion about like who Golden Freddy was back then. But I think what I like saying is that the like newspapers alluded to the killer wearing a suit. So it wouldn't shock me if the killer wore that suit but didn't necessarily die in that suit.
Yeah. I mean,
and then later maybe the animatronics confused the phone guy even for the killer and like stuffed him in to be like, hey, get out of here.
Yeah,
guy.
like get out. It also did we know that it was 5 kids at the time? I don't.
I know we know that he lured 2 kids. I know that's what's in the newspaper. I don't have them pulled up, but I can pull them up. FNAF 1 newspapers. Get over here.
How many
kids vanished? 2 local children were reportedly lured into a back room during late hours of operation at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza on the night of June 26th.
Okay, so it was only 2 at the time.
Oh, okay. And then they report 5 children. So it's first 2.
So it was
and
7.
Then 5. I was like, I thought that the MCI was established immediately.
Yeah, I feel like that was the big lore of that one.
Yeah, 5 children are now linked to the incident at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, where a man dressed as a cartoon mascot lured them into a back room. While the suspect has been charged, the bodies themselves were never found. And so they kind of set up the idea that, like, definitely there was a killer in a suit. Definitely it was 5 kids that went missing. And then you start to go, oh, they never found the bodies, and now these animatronics are seemingly haunted. And you kind of start to put together,
that's the kids.
Potentially... Oh, because they also talk about smells and stuff like that.
Yeah, they were stinky and like stuff was leaking out of the suits. Like, oh my god, FNAF 1 was the most freaky in terms of like the transparency.
Giving us less gave us more, you know what I mean?
Like,
because they didn't actually show us this stuff in the first game.
Yeah.
Like, and you just have to think about it. Like, you get to kind of make up those visuals in your head, which are going to be worse than anything they're going to show you.
Yeah. I mean, even Golden Freddy himself, like, slumped like that on the ground was really freaky. Just him appearing randomly, and then I think he used to shut down your game as well sometimes. That was just... he was horrible.
Yeah. I can't play FNAF 1. It's so scary to me. I know everything. Like, it's like I know it's a game, and the animation isn't, particularly advanced or whatever. It's very basic stuff, but Scott created the perfect atmosphere for horror in that moment. And like, people who aren't worried about jump scares and things like that probably get used to it really quickly, but I never get used to the feeling of sitting in the office and trying to
not die,
decide when to open and close the doors.
Yeah, I think sound design was so good in that game because you had the breathing in your ear every now and then. That was really gross to have it just like, and you could it was like, because the sound design wasn't as much to listen where things were, because it was possible, like Freddy's laughing told you where he was, but it was so freaky.
Yeah, but I think that's basically the lore. It's just that there was a killer, and they killed 5 kids before being apprehended in some capacity, and it's pretty clear that the kids were stuffed into the suits, and then you're kind of deciding like, oh, I guess that so the spirits of these children are haunting these suits.
Yeah.
And that's pretty direct at the time that it's this supernatural force going on, and they immediately set up the mystery of Golden Freddy with "It's me." They don't reveal anything about that, so I think a lot of theorizing was probably around like, what does "It's me" mean?
Yeah.
And we have a relationship with this character of some kind.
That was one of the most interesting things, because I didn't realize as well, though, but obviously there was 5 missing kids, and there's only 4 with Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy. So I remember a lot of the ongoing theories were that inside the Golden Freddy suit was the 5th kid and who we had a relation to. But it's just really odd, because with the earlier FNAF games, it feels like the story is quite self-contained, especially FNAF 1, which was like Scott's final-ditch effort. But it's just... You can't really figure out what "It's me" was, because I feel like it is likely that Golden Freddy is probably another kid, but...
Right. Yeah, I like, honestly, that's probably the conclusion I would have come to if I was, like, you know, looking at it at the time. But then that leaves up the, you know, it's really just the mystery of, like, just because it just says cartoons mascot, this... Like, I feel like people probably assumed, right, that it was the Golden Freddy costume. Like, I'm just thinking, like, I don't know at the time, because, you know, I didn't do my homework, but I don't know at the time, like, what people were thinking as far as, like, what outfit the killer wore, because there was no Spring Bonnie yet, right? Like, do we see that anywhere in the first game? Like, any other suit besides the, you know, the 5?
Yeah, I don't think there was. I think it genuinely was just the 5 suits, and that was it. So it's an odd one, because as well, it feels like it would likely be the killer, or we're hallucinating the killer or something, because that's what "It's me" makes sense for. But then also, in theory, the killer has been arrested, but we can see Golden Freddy any night, as far as I'm aware. So it's like...
And Golden Freddy's like an apparition. Like, it's not like there is the physical suit, but when it just like pops up, it can just pop up anytime in your face, which has been, I feel like, has been associated, and this is, you know, later lore, but I don't want to like veer too far off of like what is the lore at the time versus now, but it has been associated with more supernatural elements. So it would make more sense for it to be like the dead kid, right, than it would be for it to be the killer, who is presumably still on the loose at this point, or in police custody.
Yeah, because I think with Golden Freddy, I think it's something like a 1 in... Well, I'm pretty sure he's got one of those timers where it's like you have a possibility every second for him to spawn in, but it's quite a low one, same as the posters. Like, there's a possibility every time you look at that camera for it to happen.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just... There's always that mystery as well, because Golden Freddy was slumped over. Like, the other animatronics are quite capable of standing and moving around, but Golden Freddy... I think Golden Freddy was theorized to be the murder suit because he couldn't stand, and that made it more likely that someone had been inside it before, and now there was just a dead kid.
Yeah, which is just spooky ooky.
Very, very spooky. It's so nasty.
Yeah. But I think that's really that's it. I mean, I guess the last thing we learn, right, in FNAF 1 is just that the pizzeria closed because people stopped wanting to come there because it was disgusting.
Yeah, that was...
And nobody wanted to buy it.
Yeah, I mean, who
for
would?
Obvious reasons. Yeah, frankly.
Yeah. So, and I feel like a lot of the other lore at the time does come to smaller details. There's like some smaller stuff for us to discuss, because the main lore was quite obvious, but it was like little bits, like, for example, there was a theory that FNAF 1 happened in 1993 because of the paycheck, how much he got paid for.
Yes. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah,
it's like a I feel like it made sense again at the time, because 1993 was kind of like when that kind of technology started coming out, it's like getting popular, so it just makes sense.
Right. Well, and it was like, if it was a pizzeria in the 80s and it's closed, and we're clearly taking care of the place after it's closed. Like, I don't know how I can't remember off the top of my head if that's explicitly stated that like the restaurant is not open anymore, but I think it's clear just based on like the dilapidation of the, you know, security room that you're in, that the place isn't open. We're here after the fact. And so 1993 would make sense if the pizzeria closed in the 80s and it's kind of been sitting here.
Yeah. And there wouldn't be a night guard before, because if there was a day and night guard, then the killings wouldn't have happened, because we're quite vigilant with all the cameras. Like, this wouldn't, it just wouldn't have happened during the time we had guards there.
Yeah, and back then there were no roaming animatronics to keep in line, because there were no dead children. But I think that really at the time, the only other like major thing I can think of is, I know that Game Theory's first theory had it linked to a real life event that happened, and I would say that I don't think that Scott ever intended to, pull from a real life event. I think that would be way too much for him. But it is, I mean, it is interesting. Obviously, Five Nights at Freddy's is pulling from the Showbiz Pizza Chuck E. Cheese world.
Yeah. And
so it doesn't surprise me that people's minds would go to, like, well, let me look at the real world versions of these kinds of restaurants and see if there are any connections.
Meanwhile, like, the biggest Chuck E. Cheese controversy was that they thought pizza was being reused.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't have that much drama. They just broke.
Yeah, unfortunate, but kind of nothing there.
I do find that it was quite interesting as well, though, that the previous night guard or day guard or whatever he was, the phone guy, thought that the animatronics were just trying to put you in suits.
In a suit?
Yeah, that was such an odd thing. Like, has someone programmed them to do that? Or maybe the killers, like, programmed them to do it, to get rid of the bodies, or, like... Was it
or it was the last thing that happened to them as children.
It makes you wonder if we were even the first death, because obviously Phone Guy, it sounds very much like he dies because he gets stuffed into a suit, but...
It does sound that way, yeah.
Yeah.
And the week before, like, goes further to kind of show us that as a possibility.
Yeah.
But, that's later stuff, but...
Yeah, I feel like only at
it's so hard.
It's tricky. It's like talking about like it specifically, but I know there was a few odd ones. Like one, Foxy not being hostile because he only pokes him through the door and then we die. I do think that always was an odd one because he charges down at us, but it looks like he gives us like, I know the ongoing theory was that he was giving us a heart attack versus us actually being killed by him, which was interesting because that means that the animatronics had different levels of hostility. Like Gordon Freddy doesn't attack, Foxy doesn't attack. It was interesting.
Yeah, and that adds personality to them as individuals, which I kind of like. Because we're able to surmise enough that they were kids that were stuffed into the mascot suits, and presumably that is what is making them act so weird at nighttime, that they would actually have different ways of going about things, because they aren't just robots. They are these like spirits that are lost, confused, whatever.
Yeah, like they're not actively trying to hurt anyone, but they are hurting people. So yeah. I mean, I know.
Well, I guess that's the theory too, is just like, are they hostile because they've been told by their killer to be hostile? Are they hostile because they're spirits whose last memories were so aggressive? Or like you said, are they really not trying to do anything wrong and it just is that way?
Yeah. I mean, as well, there was like the whole Bite of 87 thing. That was odd as well because it was played off as a joke, but it was kind of like, where does this come from? What is this about?
Yeah. I don't know. You could probably tell me better, but did anybody ever theorize that like that maybe the guard was connected to the Bite of 87 at that time in any way, or just because like I feel like in the first game the player character is incredibly like blank slate.
Yeah, there's nothing there. No spice. Yeah, so I don't know if anyone theorized it was the phone guy, but I believe the ongoing theory was that it was Foxy that did the bite because he looked the most likely to have been able to take a chomp, and that's why he was out of order. Because obviously Foxy was quite broken down. He was the only one that has been, again, out of order for a while. So I think the theory was that he did it, you know, if you're thinking 1993, he did that 6 years ago, and that's why he's so decayed, because he hadn't been used in those 6 years. So I think that was the strongest one, but we never had like a solid idea of who did it. Like the frontal lobe bit seemed to be played off as a bit of a joke. So
yeah, but I think that makes sense, that at the time it was just like, well, it's probably Foxy.
It's just Foxy.
He's got a big mouth. I don't know.
Yeah, like no one knew what to say for that, but there was just, yeah, I think the only other big theories were that phone guy was the killer, and the odd one that Freddy's spirit was a girl because he hides in the girls' bathroom.
Oh goodness, I did not know about that.
That was a really big theory. It was really, the genders of the animatronic was such a big fight back in the day, because they were like, oh, Bonnie's a girl's name, so Bonnie's a girl. Oh, Freddy's half in the girl's toilets, that means he's a girl. And it's like people would fight tooth and nail over this. It was crazy.
Interesting. Yeah, I missed all of that.
Yeah, security was interesting. I don't know if the phone guy was meant to be the killer, because obviously he gets stuffed by the end, but it was a really fun concept.
Yeah. But I mean, like, when you think about what, like, okay, sorry, this is me veering off of, like, the Lord then, but when you do think about what we find out later, that, you know, the way William Afton dies is by putting himself in the suit to try to protect himself, and then it ultimately ends up being what kills him. I don't think it's, like, too far-fetched to suggest that, like, you know, if phone guy was intended to be the killer, which I don't know that was the case, but if he was, that him dying in that way would have actually been similar to what we end up seeing anyway.
Yeah, although it would have been really funny though that William got spring locked and then just dies suffering. Oh my god, it's horrible. Hey, so I'm in this back room, if you can come get me.
Yeah, like, help.
It's an odd strategy.
It doesn't work with the future lore. The idea of the phone guy being the killer is debunked eventually, but I am saying I don't think that the way he dies would have been like, oh, then he can't possibly be the killer, because of course the kids would kill him if they knew that he killed them and they were capable.
Yeah, it was really based on...
Or it would just be poetic justice.
That would be quite cool, to be fair. But it just feels like it really depended, because I remember the newspaper said that he got arrested, but I know a lot of people think that was Scott's only retcon. So, but I think at the time there was a lot of mysteries. I think it was solvable, but it just wasn't like confirmed back then.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that like it says that the suspect is convicted, right? And then it also says the suspect has been charged in that same news article. And that's like, that became the confusing thing, was because charged and convicted are not the same thing. Charged just means like, okay, you're going to go to trial and we're going to find out if you're guilty or not. Convicted means like, we found you guilty of this crime. So yeah, if you do look at the newspaper as like, okay, this guy was convicted and he went to jail, it would be unlikely that he would also be the phone guy.
Yeah. Whereas there's a possibility that if he wasn't actually convicted and it was just like an error in the messages, he could have quite easily been on bail, come back to the pizzeria to maybe cover his tracks or something, and then got stuffed.
Yeah.
What is the game lore now? So, one really big question. Do you think this was the first or the second missing children's incident, like considering the FNAF 2 one?
Oh... I don't know how I don't. I have such yes. Well, my thing about specifically the DCI, like the disappearing children's incident, the quote unquote the other one. I don't have like a strong opinion about whether or not that happened. I don't mind people theorizing in either direction, but I would say that if there is a second, that this would be the first chronologically.
Yeah. It's just a tricky one timeline-wise, because it's pretty much confirmed FNAF 2 happens first. Like, I feel like that's generally accepted, is that is the first game, and then we go on to 1.
Yes.
But
I would say the games happen in that order, but that does not mean that the children disappear. Because like by I said, like by the time we're playing FNAF 1, time has passed. The restaurant has been closed. So the missing children's incident doesn't happen when FNAF 1 takes place. It happens potentially 8-10 years prior. Prior.
Yeah. And I mean,
so I think it could still be the first missing incident, and then the disappearing children in this incident happens after that.
Yeah.
Even though the games chronologically happen in FNAF 2, FNAF 1.
I think at the time, obviously you audience will hear more about this in FNAF 2 episode, but it definitely feels like that the withered animatronics were meant to be the withered ones from the first game. They got decayed, and that's still the spirits in there. But then, obviously, like, I do think FNAF 2 was always meant to be a sequel, and then it got changed because of lore. But, yeah, I think it was just the same kids in the suits, and then because that concept of, well, the possessed suits, and then it was like, well, no, but this can't be the MCI because it may not have happened yet. It was really, that's where the whole idea of DCI started to stem from.
Right. No, I think that makes sense. The withers always get me. I was streaming the other day and getting really confused about the withers, talking about the FNAF 2 movie. Because there are obvious physical differences between the withers and the FNAF 1 animatronics, the classics, that would not, like, decay wouldn't explain. Like, it would be decay in the reverse. Like, it would, like, the unwithered, right? Whole thing. Yeah. So that's hard for me. And I don't know if Scott would have been so, what's the word? Like, I don't want to say careless, but I don't know another good word to put here, but I don't know if he would have been so flippant as to create a situation where, okay, these are the same animatronics that are now dilapidated because time has passed, but they have extra buttons on them, like extra features on their mouths and things like that. I think that something other people have talked about is the idea that it was just like the endos or pieces of the withered animatronics that were used in the FNAF 1 animatronics.
Yeah.
But it's so hard for me to parse through all of that.
So I think the ongoing thing at the time is they did take the endos, but they took the suits and then adjusted the suits, like added certain bits on to make them like look better, to kind of try and revamp everything. And when that failed, they got rotted away. Because we do know that Scott can change designs a bit with like Scrap Trap, I think his name is, and then you have like Scrap Baby and stuff. Like, they were very different.
And canonically Scrap Baby is different because she's exiled from Innerd and then has to completely rebuild her body. So it makes sense why her entire exoskeleton is different, because it's literally made of scraps and it's not like Scott just decided she should have like spiky brown and red hair. But as far as like how it has like the game's continued lore affected the first game, I think like one of the big things is I think we've kind of all decided that whether or not the suspect was charged, convicted, whatever, they definitely didn't stay in jail unless they caught the wrong person.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is it either, because I remember there was theories as well that it was actually Henry, like way back that Henry was the one arrested in the first game, and in the second game we played as William, which is why the toy animatronics and the wizards are after us, because the toys are the police system and the wizards are the dead kids. So yeah, not necessarily Henry by name, but they thought, okay, there's a killer and there's a co-owner, we've gone after the co-owner. That was the generally accepted kind of thing, whereas it's like not so much now.
Yeah, because I think that's kind of the two ways of thinking, is either you believe that William really was arrested, similarly to how he was in the Silver Eyes, but they just didn't have enough evidence to convict him and he got free. Because that, and just because this is the way that it happened in the Silver Eyes doesn't mean that this is the way it happened in the games, but I understand that theory, and it has merit based off of what we see in the books where, okay, this cop is telling the story about how, like, yeah, we almost had him and then we couldn't convict him because we didn't have the evidence that we needed, which would take care of the news stories from FNAF 1. But another way to take care of it would be, and because Henry disappears for so long and then just kind of shows up in FNAF 6, oh, maybe he was arrested and he served time for William's crimes because he was framed, or the evidence was there that it was him, etc., etc.
Yeah,
and then
locked away.
Like, he got out, or yeah. Because I mean, both of those solutions would solve the problem of convicted, but then he's in the spring trap suit. And you're like, now wait a minute. I thought they put you in jail. I mean, how are you still doing stuff?
There was that whole era where everyone thought Michael was Springtrap, because he goes, Michael, father, blah, 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 blah. And then that was a whole era.
I think, you know, there's some part of me that's still just like, what if we were right then? Like, what a world that would be.
William Afton was the good guy the whole
actually
time.
Michael.
Oh my gosh.
Mans is just like, I don't know what you're talking about. I never killed any kids.
Like, what are you pitting? That's even worse for Michael, though. He's getting... I was going to joke, but it's actually canon that he gets beat up over and over because everyone thinks he's William. So, kind of canon in his case that he didn't do it, but everyone blames him. Man.
And speaking of Michael, that's another thing that ends up coming to light or becomes the commonly accepted lore, is that the guard who previously, when we just played FNAF 1, we had no idea about, they started to think, oh, is this Michael? Is this William's son?
Yeah.
Which I think would make sense if it would make the animatronics particularly hostile towards him, again, if they recognized him as their killer. Alternatively, it makes sense because William seemed to send Michael to complete tasks for him after, you know, not being able to do it himself anymore for any number of potential reasons. And we also knew later on that Michael now does have a particular potential connection, right, with Golden Freddy, and that it's me. And we start thinking like, oh, it's the crying child talking to his brother from beyond to be like, I'm here. It's me.
Yeah. And that...
So the FNAF 1's lore got bloated a lot by the other games.
Yeah. It really... yeah. Because Golden Freddy, I feel like, was Fredbear in the end. At the time, he was meant to be just like a fun little Easter egg, whereas it does feel like it was Fredbear, it's me, Michael. And then, yeah, it just made sense, because I quite like the narrative as well that Michael's been going through the pizzerias and just setting them on fire. Like,
yeah.
He's just
some unfinished business.
Yeah, I mean, because FNAF 1 seems to be towards the end of what he does, because he's like, gets scooped, becomes Urple guy, then he goes through like FNAF 2, FNAF 1, FNAF 3 seems to be last because he thinks he's killed Thingy, and then he's failed.
In fact, he has.
Yeah, did not do well.
But he does a lot of failing, the poor stinky man. He does a lot of messing up.
Yeah, he's not doing good. It's not even his fault as well. Like, sure, he did kind of kill his brother, but the rest of it is a bit far.
Karma really came for Michael.
It's all his dad's karma as well. Like, William obviously got spring locked, but he didn't seem like he's suffering that much afterwards, so...
Yeah, it's like, okay, I suffered, and now I'm a mecha.
Yeah! He's like, oh, ow! Oh, strong.
Now I have extra strength and glowy eyes, and I live for scaring people even beyond the grave.
Yeah, I can kill people even better now. I'm basically invincible. Like... Man. I mean,
it works out in William Afton's favor far more than it does for poor Michael.
I will say that does make me think how funny it is in Pizzeria Simulator. Like, Michael's just staring at his dad like, are you possessed? Like, Oh, my sister, are you possessed?
Yeah, it really is like, why is like my whole family showing up at the back door post-mortem?
What's even funnier though is if he sees them and chucks them out again. Oh, it's my dad. Oh
Yeah,
no,
like,
go away.
Get out of here.
But yeah, so the other one, another big one, is the two spirits in Golden Freddy. Are you for or against it?
I feel like I this is another thing, is like I'm a very wishy-washy person. My most recent thing has been like, I actually think potentially not, but that would require crying. Like, for me, I'm like, if there is only one spirit in Golden Freddy, I think it is the vengeful spirit. And I don't know how much I like the idea of Crying Child not being in Golden Freddy's suit based on it's me from the first game. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I bet, like, where did Cassidy come from? Like, thinking back, when did she die? Like, obviously, Cassidy is the vengeful spirit and likely the second spirit. I don't have any memory where she popped up before, like, where she came from.
The first mention of vengeful spirit would be Ultimate Custom Night, I believe.
Huh.
Like, if we really want to talk about the name, vengeful spirit.
Yeah.
Like, because that's how it was that's how it was like billed in the credits.
Yeah.
This vengeful spirit. So the mystery, I think, like, objectively, right, what we had was the 5 graves, right? We have and we knew there were always these 5 children. And so then the question was, is Crying Child part of the missing children's incident, or is this a 5th kid that inhabits Golden Freddy? So it's possible that Golden Duo, came about before that. I didn't I did no homework. It's possible that Golden Duo came out before that, but then it would just be that there is this 5th kid, random 5th kid, and then also Crying Child in there. I would venture to say that we didn't start thinking about Golden Duo until Ultimate Custom Night, because we wouldn't have had a reason to have those 2 kids be linked. But once you saw the extra grave and you're like, okay, well, what is this? Is this the 5th kid who was in the missing children's incident? Is this the Crying Child's grave? Then there's the grave on the hill that by that time, right, we presume was Charlie based on the Silver Eyes. It's like, it's a whole can of worms that gets opened up.
Where did her name even come from, now I think about it? Because I feel like it's generally accepted Cassidy is vengeful spirit.
That's like general, but where did her name even come from? Like, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I know she is, but why?
That's all from the security logbook. The only other time the name Cassidy comes up is in the Silver Eyes trilogy.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I think I'm right about that. Let me not misspeak.
Yeah. No, I think you are right. I think that does make sense, because it makes sense that Cassidy was one of the 5 MCI, so then Crying Child was going, it's me, and then the other one was like, I'm gonna jump scare you in your office. It makes sense, FNAF 1-wise, because then be like, okay, that's why it's me's happening, but that's also why our game crashes sometimes. Like, our brother isn't attacking us, but Cassidy is, because she thinks we are the killer. And only... That's quite sad, though, thinking about it, because Crying Child knows that's his brother getting attacked, but he's not in full control.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and that he was also presumably, responsible for what happened to Crying Child, so he could be a little angry. Yeah, Cassidy is a girl described as having long black hair in the 4th Closet graphic novel. She has long brown hair with side bangs tied into a ponytail with a purple hair tie in the graphic novel.
As usual.
Yeah, she looks different in the graphic novel than she is described in the original book, because I don't know.
Because FNAF. That's just how FNAF.
Because someone made choices. Yeah.
Decisions were made.
But yeah, Cassidy is one of the missing children in the the Silver Eyes trilogy, which again, it could just be using a name that, you know, because also one of the missing children in the game, or in the books, is Michael, which we know is not the case in the games. So I don't know how much you can use those names beyond there is another instance of Cassidy. That definitely helped us solve the logbook, right? Because when you realize that the word search spells Cassidy, and then you have this other reference of this name in the medium, right? In the franchise, it goes, okay, so probably Cassidy is the correct solution to that word search. And then it's tied to the vengeful spirit because it's it seems like the golden duo theory played into that, where it's like, oh, it seems like the vengeful spirit and crying child are talking to each other in the book.
Yeah, I do love the golden duo though, and I do love the way that Cassidy was introduced, because I feel like it really tied up any loose ends to your security logbook, because it was like, okay, this is the stuff Michael has done, this is what everyone has done, like the drawings canonized what we knew for Michael, and then obviously we had Cassidy's name, and we now have Dave or David, I think, for crying child.
Yeah, it's specifically Dave in the logbook because it's just 4 letters,
which is a whole
that you get from
new can of worms.
Yeah, because then people are like, "But Dave is not a child's name," and it's like, I think we do have to like allow some liberty, like. Someone who's named Dave was once a child.
Yeah.
Like, that is canonically just, or chronologically how time works.
Nuh-uh.
So whenever someone's like, but that just doesn't sound like a child's name, it's like, you know, somebody named their kid Eustace, and that kid was a baby at some point named Eustace. Like, it's just a way that it is. Babies were born Ethel, Petunia, etc., and then they grew up.
That's so FNAF fandom to see something that's just real, that's just true, and be like, no, because this thing, and it's like, well, no, it's just
don't seem right. Don't seem right.
Yeah, it's not right. Real life children, no Daves.
Yeah, no kids named Dave.
They're like, I'm gonna name my child Dave, and someone just punches in. No, that's not FNAF law. Oh no.
I'm trying to. Okay, I've seen that where you've like written out like more bullet points than I have.
Oh, it's okay.
I was like just looking at the little thing at the bottom, and I was like, I'm like totally like.
Yeah, I'm not that smart. I've been reading off my notes. It's alright. No, it's good because I'm kind of giving the concept to you, and they're both expanding on it. Because depending on the episode that I'm doing, it does tend to be like, either I'm leading more or I'm leading less, depending on like, yeah. So it's okay. We're flowing.
But I would just like it just in general, like FNAF 1's lore is probably upheaved more than any other game by future installments, because who knows how much Scott had really even thought about it beyond just there was a killer and he killed kids and he stuffed them in a suit and now they're out to get you.
Considering it was his last-ditch effort as well. That was his big, like, last attempt at making a game. I feel like it wasn't.
Yes.
And that's why FNAF games in general have so many inconsistencies, because FNAF 1, funnily enough, stood the test of time apart from a small retcon, whereas other games completely changed what we thought.
Right, that's true. Yeah, I just feel like there's so many more questions about FNAF 1 that are only answered by future information. Like it wasn't even something that we necessarily needed to think about at the time. Like what's the relationship between Golden Freddy and the security guard? We don't have enough information to know. But now we have so much information that it's like we can argue about it.
It makes so much sense. And I mean, there was just such an odd theory as well of the puppet being in the kitchen. Even just small details like that. No one would have even considered that before. But now some people started to think the puppet was there the whole time in the kitchen, because obviously she's leading the souls, and that's why we can't see the kitchen. Like, obviously at the time it was because Chica's in there, so it just made it better.
Yeah.
But then in the future, it then does beg the question, if Puppet is still around, is she actually in the kitchen? Is she hiding in there? Because we know she can kind of free roam, so...
Yeah. I don't think it would be necessarily impossible that her presence would be there in some capacity.
Mm.
But I would still say that the kitchen is probably a Chica thing, just because of how much they've built out her character around food.
She likes pizza.
Yeah, so I think she would have been in the kitchen still.
Yeah. How will this affect the future of the games? So, obviously, we've now just said that Golden Duo is very likely. It's almost considered
Very
canon.
likely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you think there's a possibility that one of them stayed on in the Blob?
Oh. I know. Okay. So, okay. I know. Again, when you're asking me about my opinions, I'm just like, I don't know what I think.
I don't know.
but when you talk about looking at the Blob in general and asking like, oh, is potentially either the Vengeful Spirit or Crying Child in there, I think it would make sense, right? If there have been people who have suggested that the Blob is where like these other flip side events take place, right? Where you're talking about the potential bite victim loop. If you're talking about Crying Child loop, if you believe in that theory, where maybe that loop is taking place, where the Ultimate Custom Night loop is taking place, where the FNAF world goings-ons are taking place, potentially all or at least one of those things is happening in the Blob. And I would say if that is the case, then of course I believe that probably at least the Vengeful Spirit is in the Blob.
Yeah. I mean, judging. Oh, sorry. Yes, Jonah.
My theories about the Tangle, as it is named in the games, are a little different than that, and feed off more of the M1 versus M2 kind of sides of things, but that's completely not about FNAF 1 at all.
That's all right. I mean, it kind of comes into this topic because when Security Breach first came out, when it came out, everyone kind of thought it was a spirit because you had stuff like the puppet's mask no longer had the crying tears on it. You had most of the, I believe it was 2 masks that still had a light on them, which people took to signify it. But I can also see it being M1 because M1 is imitating. But I feel like it could easily go both ways.
I think a lot of the ways that I feel about a lot of the things in modern FNAF all come right back to Remnant. And and our understanding of it, or how it's being applied. So I don't know. That's the entire concept of like the 2 spirits, or how they moved on, is very complicated, I feel like, by Ultimate Custom Night, because it suggests that at the very least, right, the Vengeful Spirit doesn't ever move on.
Yeah.
And I would say Happiest Day gives some credence to the idea that the other children did move on.
But Cassidy didn't.
Yeah. And you know, the problem too with the Tangle with modern FNAF in regards to Cassidy / the Vengeful Spirit, who not everybody thinks is Cassidy, which I understand, is that Scott failed to communicate what the story of Security Breach was to Steel Wool. So then there's a part of me that's like, is the way Tangle the Blob is designed even like as relevant as we want it to be? Because Steel Wool was making it based off of what they thought the story was, and they were wrong.
Yeah.
So is the puppet having no tears supposed to be signifying something? Maybe to Steel Wool it was, but can we rely on that to suggest that there is something supernatural going on there when it's very clear that the story is taking a different route in the modern era? You know, that kind of becomes the nebulous like thought thing that I get stuck in, where I'm just like, well, still, you know, I guess, you know, Scott wouldn't have signed off on the way that the Blob looked if there was something definitely horribly like confusing in it, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, he let them put Vanny in that game for no reason. He let them put the whole Vanny in there.
Whole lot of
and they
Vanny
did
and
nothing
Burnt
with
Trap.
her. Yes. Like the game got released with a whole character that he never meant to move as the final boss.
Yeah. Although the only thing is that Tangle is in ruin, looking the same.
Yes.
And to me, that almost speaks of like, I think Scott went into more detail on other things. Like, the listeners, you guys listening, you'll hear more about this in the Security Breach episode, because that was a big episode.
That's why you have to watch all of these when they come out.
But it was kind of the concept of, I've already forgotten what I was saying. What was I saying? What were we talking about?
You're talking about kind of how the Security Breach thing got messed up because Scott didn't tell Steel the story.
Yes. So
and how Ruin shows the Blob the same.
Yeah. And it's because, as well, it feels like there are some details that feel too particular. Like, having Michael's room in the pizzeria feels like something Scott has directly said, I need you to have this
you have
here.
to put this here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, considering Blob is in ruin, looking the same, is that a question of, that also something Scott specified? Did he specifically say, you know, I need the Blob, I need these faces on it, I need these lit up? Because Burnt Trap is obviously a thing of miscommunication, because from what we understand, he was meant to be in the walls, kind of like watching us only out the corner of your eye. So it's the case of how much detail did he intend to give and how much did he give?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, because my question is, do we get, I know we see in Ruin, specifically with the Tangle Blob, we see its head move about, but do we ever get, I mean, I assume the file is there, right, of the thing, you know, but do we get a full body shot of the Blob in Ruin? Because all I remember is seeing its head kind of come through the window.
Ugh. That's so
Or not
creepy.
even a window, like a hole in the wall.
Yeah, so I think in the files he is completely there, but at the very least there is lights in the top one, like
okay, yeah,
what we see visually. Like there's either a mimic or a spirit in there in the main mask. That's for certain, but the other stuff, it's like questionable.
Yeah. That whole thing is so complicated. Like now, very specifically now, with Secret of the Mimic out and saying everything that it's saying, everything else has become a little more complicated for me, because it seems to be able to animate kind of whatever it wants. So if there is another mimic or mimic-esque thing, like it can't be the mimic. Because that one we don't release it. That we don't release until the end of Ruin.
Yeah. So
it would have to be something else.
Yeah.
And that's the question for me. It's like if it is something supernatural, if it is some conglomerate of spirits or something, I think that would be really cool. But every time I think something will be a supernatural element of a FNAF game in the modern era, it ends up being explained away by something else.
Yeah, I do like that. I will say I absolutely love the Mimic and the whole AI versus humanity arc, but I would love a sprinkle of someone's spirit, especially like how the Princess Quest file is called Cassidy. The princess herself is called Cassidy. It's like something.
Well, it was originally. And then Scott made them, or somebody made them change it. Again, is that something that they got wrong? Is that something that they assumed that they got wrong? Is that something that Scott told them eventually, but then did not mean for them to reveal to us?
Yeah, I didn't think we were meant to.
Like,
I think they were like, oopsie daisy.
Yeah. So, and that's for me. This kind of stuff is the things that it's like, it doesn't do us any good, in my opinion, to try to theorize about them beyond having fun, which I love to do. It would be really nice if somebody would just come out and say like, oh, we renamed the Cassidy file because it's not really Cassidy and we got that messed up. That would be so, like, I'd be like, all right, cool. Then I don't have to think about that anymore. But even though they renamed the file, there's just some of me that's like, okay, well, we already saw it.
I feel like we will find out, though. I do think that after, like, we are a few games off, probably a DLC and then a final game, we are going to get answers. At least to Tangle, to Mimic, and to Gregory. I feel like at least those ones we're going to get a bit of answers to. But it's just a case of when. And, like, the Cassidy thing. If anyone's in Blob, it's going to be her. I feel like our process of elimination, no one is salty enough than her.
Yeah, and she has like the way that the Tangle acts seems like, oh, I'm not going to hurt kids, but if if a kid seems in danger, I'm going to intervene. To me, kind of relates to the way that the vengeful spirit would have behaved.
Yeah.
But yeah, one thing I did want to say, where we were talking about, because this is the affecting the future section, I would say that just that beginning, or just that very first game, setting up the idea that there is this capacity for a supernatural, supposed, I would assume, entity to apparate into your vision. Like, where it's like flashing and it's there and there's a message being... We see it in text in the game, but the way that future properties have kind of showed this is more like it's inputting this message directly into your brain, like over and over and over again. The first game set up that for everything else.
Yeah.
And we see it again. We see the Phantom animatronics do something similar in FNAF 3. We, obviously we see an Ultimate Custom Night, all that kind of stuff. We get that it's me message spread across the franchise in a number of ways. And in Secret of the Mimic, David, as well, what we presume to be David, the tiger suit, does the same thing that Golden Freddy did all the way back in FNAF 1. Which is, to me, why it seems more supernatural than everything else.
It definitely... It's identical almost, that slumping over and then the flashing in your vision. To me, that's like blatant. This is haunted. This is like possessed. This is more spirity. That's haunting. Yeah. This is spirit.
So that, to me, I feel like FNAF 1, despite all of the changes, despite things that we know now have been either retconned or refitted into the story in a new way. Maybe even, dates changed or whatever that stuff is. What has remained is this portrayal of something that is either supernatural, or if it's trying to describe Remnant and there's just these like really strong emotions or memories that have just taken hold of Golden Freddy in a way that didn't occur with the other animatronics, because they don't have the capacity to do that. And we see that again in the FNAF movie. Yeah, exactly. They clearly can't teleport.
They just stand outside like, oh.
Like, hey man, will let me in?
And then just sadly walk backwards when they fail.
Yeah, they're like, well, this feels ridiculous. I feel like I can't keep standing here
like an idiot.
I'm gonna go back. You've thoroughly embarrassed me, thanks.
But I feel like this does lead to the final point that I want to discuss here. Do you think Michael Afton is still around in some capacity? Like, because we discussed how FNAF 3 Fire didn't work. Do you think there's a chance he's still here?
Right now, my stance is no. Right now, my stance is that everything that we see now is new, or it's Remnant. Like, I don't think right now, like, my feelings on this could change, but I think everything now is emotions and memories. I don't think we're dealing with spirits anymore. Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily unlikely. I think the thing is, the Michael room could be explained because I think that the Mimic has been at the Afton house for a bit. Because everything is changing to rabbit imagery. Mimic knows so much about Afton. That could also be why the Michael room was there. Like, maybe even Michael bonded with the Mimic or something. But I also don't think it's out of the question. Like, it will be so cool if Security Breach 2... out of the shadows walks Michael freaking Afton. That would be so cool. I can't lie.
Yeah. People's theories about Golden Freddy having Michael's something in it also makes sense to me. I think there's plenty of connections that people can make there. I just don't know if it's like, oh, is it a spirit, or is it very similarly to how we've been looking at F10N4 that this is like some person's grief or emotions or something surrounding this person, and thus the AI takes on the identity of this person despite not actually being them, because Golden Freddy says, I am not me.
Yeah.
And it feels like such a, like, okay, we're supposed to, this has to mean something. Like he's saying something about gaining some level of sentience, some level of understanding beyond what makes him Golden Freddy.
Yeah.
Or not Golden Freddy, Glamrock Freddy.
Yeah, there's
definitely Glamrock Freddy.
Yeah, there's definitely. I was confused for a second because I was like, huh, Golden Freddy and Michael. I haven't heard of that before, but
no,
sure.
I'm so sorry.
And then I was like, oh.
Go back in there. You have to go back in there and fix it. Every time I say Golden, fix it to where I say Glamrock.
Just get a soundbite of you going Glamrock.
Yeah, you have it. Glamrock Freddy. Just put that in every time I say the wrong thing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay. I was like, oh, interesting theory. That sounds like a cool new one. And there's like, oh.
My
but
bad.
Yeah.
I would just say like that if the question is Michael Afton still around, I would say that like people theory about Glamrock Freddy is the most likely of scenarios where if we're going to quote unquote see him again, that would be how we would do that. But personally, I'm of the mind that we are not looking in the realm of spirits anymore. We're looking more in the realm of emotions, agony, remnant, that kind of thing.
And AI.
Yeah, well, there's certainly AI.
Yeah.
If there is anything supernatural, that it is not a full spirit.
No, or a full like person or anything.
Yeah, digital consciousness, I think, is really how they're describing it in the games. It's like, okay, so it's not really this person's spirit, it's some copy of who they are.
Yeah, like the leftover emotions, as they say, remnant or agony leftover.
Exactly. Yeah.
Gush about the game. A lot of the other ones we've talked about negative stuff as well, but I don't think there's anything negative about FNAF 1. I don't think there is anything bad to say about it.
Yeah, there's no comparison at that point, right? Like when FNAF 1 came out, it was the only game that you could look at for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We don't have to go, well, the story of FNAF, it was perfect. Like FNAF 1 was a sensation. It sparked a brand new genre, basically, of horror game. Not to say that things like this didn't come before, but this was well and away the most successful version of it.
Yeah.
And the character models were a perfect blend of like, okay, I guess I could technically see, because of how weird animatronics looked in the 80s anyway, I could see a pizzeria being opened looking with these guys looking exactly like they do.
Absolutely.
And I also don't want to get close to them.
Yeah, I feel like even for gameplay then, it was so simple. Open the door, shut the door. 420 mode wasn't necessarily made to be beatable, but even that gameplay, it was great. Horror, it was great. Like, sound design, it was great. There was nothing bad to say about the game. Like, it's hard, but not in like a this is unfair way. It's like random,
exactly. I think, RNG. You have to be that perseverant kind of person who's driven to get to the end, to keep going. And I'm unfortunately just not that person. I'm just like, I'm scared,
dipping
and
out
I'm
time.
not winning. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like oh, sorry, yeah.
I died in the first night of FNAF 1 because I got so scared that I messed up my stream and couldn't see the screen. And got jump scared by Foxy when I couldn't even see him, and it still scared me.
Oh, that's scary.
So I was not built for playing FNAF 1.
Horror games in general. Yeah.
I can play other horror games. I just can't. I can't do like the trying to manage my resources and Like, I was too scared. I was just like, I just want the doors closed all the time, and I just want to get out of here.
I think that was the really fun thing about FNAF 1, though, is you started off terrified, and it didn't get less scary, but it trained you, which was something you don't see often in games, is that you start off being so terrified, and you're like, oh my god, well, I'm clicking the button to shut my door, but there's just a sound going, and then later on you're like, oh, that means someone's here, and you kind of learn, oh, I only have to look at Foxy's camera. Like, to this day, I don't know how to deal with Freddy, but I know, like, for the first few nights, it's just look at Foxy and you're good. So... yeah, it's clever. It's clever, it's simple, and that's why it worked. It's scary without having anything excessive.
Yeah, it did not overstay or try to overdo it with any of the effects or anything. It just it knew exactly what it wanted to be. And it's interesting, you know, that Scott only made it because people were like, your designs are freaky, dude. And he was like, well, fine.
Yeah, I mean...
and he was right.
It worked. I mean,
the
game's budget was, I think, £10,000 on a Kickstarter. And it did this, and then even after, he made games so frequently in succession, and they were all really good. They were all really scary. But FNAF 1, you know, it started an era with Poppy Playtime, Ban, Bendy, Masky Horror... Masky?
Honestly, can we call it Masky Horror?
Masky Horror? But yeah, it all started because of this game and because of how good it was. And it started so many people's careers as well. Like Markiplier and MatPat both have often said they owe a lot of what they have to FNAF. And it was just cool. It's just cool.
Certainly. Yeah. It became its own little culture. Like this, there's a corner of the internet for this. The fact that they're like that with this podcast exists is like a testament. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
the fact that you could have a whole YouTube channel, and in fact, there are many, hundreds, I would say, YouTube channels dedicated to specifically talking about Five Nights at Freddy's lore. That's crazy.
And
it wouldn't have happened if FNAF 1 was not what it was.
No. It's just such a lovely community has been built. Like, obviously there are the dodgy sides, but like, you know, I'm literally this is the start of a whole 15 episode long series where FNAF creators have come together because they just really love the game. That's the whole point. Like, everyone loves it, so they come together, and like this community, I don't feel like anyone's ever excluded as long as you are not an asshole.
Yes, you really have to do something.
Yeah. So it's nice. It's a nice community.
It was very welcoming. Like, when I started making FNAF YouTube videos, I just did it because I made a New Year's resolution to upload on my YouTube channel again. And I just so happened to be like, well, I've been thinking about FNAF a lot lately. I'll just, you know, do that. And so I didn't really, and I've tried to do other things on my channel too, to be like, look, I didn't make this to be a FNAF channel. This channel existed long before Five Nights at Freddy's. But I never expected people to watch my videos, but there's such an audience and such a hunger for us to like have these discussions like we're having right now.
Yeah.
That, you know, people showed up, and I was like, oh, people, and it was just strange to me I don't have anybody really in my real life who is interested in hearing me yap. So having this community is actually just very, very nice, because it's like, oh, a place for me.
I mean, it's funny as well, because this episode will be releasing on the anniversary of FNAF. 11 years, 11 years, and there's still so much,
wow.
like, yeah. Happy birthday.
There's so much to talk about. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
It is your birthday. The party is for you.
It's for you. It's your happiest day. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think Five Nights at Freddy's, I don't think you could have made the first game a better first installation into the franchise. There was just enough mystery to keep people talking about it afterwards, and Scott was like, I gotta capitalize on this right now, and pushed out that second game to keep people coming back.
And it worked.
And it did. And I'm happy for it. I'm happy for it.
It's really odd to look back, you know, Secret of the Mimic, to think back all the way then. Like, even when Security Breach came out, seeing that intro of the animatronics in 3D dancing on stage, that was like a whoa moment. Like, FNAF has come far. Now to the point of, like, Secret of the Mimic. Oh,
Crazy.
Yes, nuts to see that fully 3D rendered cutscenes. That was very different. Like Ultimate Custom Night has cutscenes, but they're all, flat. they're animated and 2D.
Yeah. And
So
not
it's
to this
just
level.
like, yeah, it's just shocking to go from I mean, even from that to Help Wanted, honestly. Like, I feel like Help Wanted was like, what? There's a FNAF VR game and I can be literally in the Pizzaplex or
You
in the
can touch
pizzeria.
the animatronics. Crazy.
Yeah, nuts.
Oh,
So
it's amazing.
It's come very, very far.
And that's it today for the Fazlore Podcast. Special thanks to our lovely guest. She's always nervous.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining. Where can we find you?
I am at She's Always Nervous on YouTube, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Those are the only social media things that I interact with. I'm mostly on YouTube, though, so that's the best place to find me.
And that'll be it for today. Signing off and see you later.
Okay, bye!
Thank you for listening and happy birthday, FNAF. Hi there, PNG Win here. A reminder, all profits from this series goes towards Dorco's London Marathon 2026 fundraiser, in which he is raising funds for Samaritans, a charity for people who are struggling with their mental health, offering support lines and services so nobody is ever alone. It's a wonderful cause, so please consider donating with the link in my bio or scanning this QR code. Thank you.